Hey, what's up? Zach here, and today I have got the Way of Wade 12. And thanks to Way of Wade for sending me a pair of these to check out. However, this video is by no means sponsored, and all opinions, good, bad, and indifferent, are all my own. To me, this is kind of the promise of the 808.5 as well as the All City 13. And although not a perfect shoe by any means, there's some people that definitely don't want what this has to offer. These things are just reinforced to the hilt. As you can see, I'm having the hardest time in the world getting through the heel counter. My God, I'm like halfway through it. Number one, and, speaking of the heel counter, if you look in the rear foot, you can see all just the super premium padding in the rear foot, that stitched padding back there along there, finally, along the heel counter. And then you do get, a decently thick heel counter in there, and then you do get midsole foam that comes up actually into the heel counter, but then the padding around it feels great, envelops the foot, really, really nice. You can see kind of that stitching in there. Reminds me of some like the more premium LeBron colorways from like the 20s and 21s for sure, but it really locks you in there. Now, moving into the midfoot, this is more than anything else on this shoe. This is the very best part. I'll spoil it right now. This is the best part of the Way of Wade 12. I don't care what they say about the midsole, whatever. It's this gusset. It goes all the way to the heel counter. It goes up super high, but then the tongue has these, it's almost like a quasi slipper and three-piece tongue. It's the best of both worlds because it's stitched in right here, like kind of into the strobel, and then it's stitched into the lace line. It's elastic and it envelops the whole foot. I actually took the laces out of the left shoe when I was doing my little B-roll over there to kind of get my final shots of the shoe. And I just put my foot in it without any laces just to kind of show you. Now, obviously I'm slipping, but the point is made that you don't even need laces in these things. Your foot stays in them, right? Obviously slippage is zero whether you have an orthotic or not in them, especially if you actually have them laced up. But the lockdown on these is the best, I think, of any shoe I've ever put on. That doesn't have a runner's knot in it either. It'd be even better if they had thought to put a runner's knot in this thing. I actually don't need it. But this gusset, this tongue, like I said, this is the very best lockdown I've ever experienced. Now the tongue itself is actually kind of thin. It does have some nice spongy and springy padding in it, and that's good, but I did get some lace irritation for a little while in these before I broke it in. I'd say it was a couple days where it was starting to irritate me, and then it really went away. Now going into the forefoot, you get this paneled wrap. Now this goes around, the whole upper is paneling. And then in the forefoot, like I said, you do get quite a bit of padding down there, so it is comfortable, but the breathability on these things, look at the breathability test on it, fog's not getting out of anywhere. You can see the gusset comes up so high on them. Where's fog gonna go? So eventually it did start coming out around. And so no, they're not gonna be the most breathable things on the planet. These are meant for, more indoor courts. So I would say if you're someone that sweats, some of the hyperhidrosis, things like that, I probably just would bring an extra pair of socks or make sure you're wearing thin, breathable socks. Thing is though, is the shoe is light enough, so it's not like you're carrying around this huge heavy load down there. So at least the shoe is light enough, but in terms of breathability, I'd say that's the biggest detractor of this shoe. Interestingly enough, it just feels like foam under here, which is pretty crazy. It's not foam posit, it doesn't feel like that, but it's almost like a light, super flexible foam posit in the upper. So it's really nice because the containment's fantastic and it's really comfortable. And they they integrated it with some stitched elements here. This isn't carbon fiber. This is just plastic or TPU, I guess, and foam. But it's almost like this super lightweight flowing type foam posit material up there. So really in terms of once the lace line breaks in, comfort and containment, this is it. This is the best. All right, but getting into midsole teardown, we have a lot to talk about. Number one, this is a dual density super boom setup. Now, the bottom layer of it is like the majority of the midsole, right? It's a huge slab of that. This is pretty typical super boom you see. The top layer, although they say it's super boom, it does feel maybe a little bit more dense or almost a little bit more like a gel-based super boom, almost like Asics gel, but I guess made of super boom. It's a much thinner layer. To me, I think it's just a little bit more for comfort on top of the full-length carbon fiber shank. Now, what I like about this is number one, yes, it is top loaded here, but there is enough break points in it, kind of like in the All City line, to give it a little bit more flexibility than previous Way of Wade flagship shoes. You can see right here, This thing now bends quite a bit easier in the forefoot. It still has got some resistance. And then in terms of torsional stability, yeah, it is still pretty torsionally rigid in the midfoot, but you are getting just a little bit more play there in the forefoot. Honestly, more torsional stability akin to the 10 and 11 versus bending here. On the tensiometer, only took 70 newtons. I say only, that's a ton, but it's way less stiff than the 10s and the 11s. So that's, to me, that's nice, because it's a little bit easier to deal with. Because when I had these on, I didn't know kind of what the shank setup was, and I said, oh, it's kind of like the 10, where it's just, you know, the shank is shaped well enough so you don't feel as stiff in them, even though it is really stiff under there. Whereas no, in these ones, there actually is like room to bend in here, which is honestly nice. Plus, the Super Boom is so much light. This is such a light TPE-based foam. I mean, yeah, look at the bounce height test on it. 42 centimeters in the rear foot. I think it's because I was hitting this carbon fiber here. And then 46 in the forefoot. That's kind of more what I'm used to. But there is that top layer there, so you might not be getting the full bounce effect of this Super Boom because you have maybe a little more of the shock absorbing Super Boom up top. That might be why it's not the same as maybe some other Super Booms. That's probably it. But what I noticed is that when I was in them, they just, like I said, just felt a little bit more flexible, easier to use, quicker to break in underfoot. Didn't have like that bored feeling underfoot like in the 11s, where, yeah, if you like that, you like that stiff feeling, that carbon fiber plate feeling underfoot, yeah, they're fine. But these ones, they feel like the All City 13 in terms of the shank set up underfoot, but they've obviously got the crazy bouncing, crazy foam under there. It's super lightweight foam. As you can see, with the weight reduction in the shoes, right now we're under 14 ounces for a men's size 11 for their flagship shoe with all this going on. And with how much carbon fiber is in there, and it was interesting because when I was reviewing the 808 5 Ultra and Ultra V2 with the, you know, Super Boom drop-in under here, what I thought was pretty interesting is, yeah, I mean, this is incredibly lightweight, and they had carbon fiber all the way through the shoe and everything, and yet, you know, it still wanted to move a lot. The thing is, I said in that video, I wonder what would happen if they made the Super Boom into an integrated midsole. So that means traditional, not drop-in like this. And this is what it is. It's absolutely, it's fantastic. So in terms of, like I said, I mean, the underfoot comfort, to me, much better than the 11s, better than the 10s. But you're still getting a lot of that same bounce effect. And in terms of durability of the foam, I think because you have the, you know, basically full length shank, but it's broken up in the rear foot and the forefoot for actually your comfort for your heel and your forefoot, that is just gonna be, like I said, it's kind of the best of both worlds, from the 808 drop-in as well as from like a more integrated All City 13 type shoe. And hey, if you're enjoying diving deep into these as well as every other shoe we cut open on this channel, you'll definitely want to check out my weekly members only live stream. We go even deeper into the week in shoes, industry news, analysis, rumors, reactions, really everything, stats that we just don't get to on the main channel because it would just take too long. So if you want to check that out, make sure you check out the channel membership down below in the join button. Hope to see you there. All right, but getting into the outsole tread, this is another GCU or, you know, cast polyurethane outsole. So durometer is 14.5, doesn't matter at all. In the rear foot, you do get a really shallow, narrow herringbone. Then you just get like an artistic pattern here in the midfoot, so it technically is full length. And then in the forefoot, more that really shallow herringbone, kind of broken up, serrated herringbone. And you got a big break up here with just the X pattern there. Now, interestingly enough, these don't slip till 47 degrees on the grip test ramp, and that is crazy. And when the court is clean, and your shoe is clean, yes, these things are stop on a dime type traction, especially with this lateral flange. Look how beefy this thing is, made of outsole rubber. And it's not super pointy either. It's actually got a little bit of length to it. It's just awesome. If you dig in with that, I mean, you're not going anywhere. Like I said, you might like that, you might not, that type of, you know, pinpoint traction, but they do pick up a little bit of dust, you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, a little bit of dust is putting it mildly. These are easy enough to wipe down because the tread is so shallow. So it's not like you're trying to like get dust out of these deep grooves. I mean, it is super easy just to wipe off. I mean, you can see the images I showed of these and then what they look like now. I mean, they're pretty easy to wipe down, but you are gonna have to wipe them down to keep getting that crazy traction. Now, like I said, you might want a little bit of give, you might not, but in these, it is a pretty typical Way of Wade GCU type outsole, they are gonna grip really, really hard. And I did the outsole durability test on these things, 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper. Yeah, I mean, the burr just basically cleans the GCU off. There is some micro texture on there. Remember, this traction is so narrow, thin, and shallow. This is really meant for an indoor court. This is the type of tread, you know, made for an indoor court. Obviously, on outdoor courts, you're gonna want something a little bit thicker, a little bit chunkier for those courts. So, like I said, you could take them outside if you really wanted to, but to me, these are just best used indoors. All right, but getting into the fit of the Way of Wade 12s, some similarities to older ones, some things a little bit more forgiving. Now, number one, they still do have a 16-degree inflare. You can kind of see it doesn't inflare until very far distal in the shoe, but there is quite a bit of an inflare in these, and the rear foot has the inflare too. So if the rear foot weren't inflared as much, you really wouldn't notice it, but they are really C-shaped. You do have a 28.7 centimeter length, a 9.7 centimeter metatarsal width, 9.6 centimeter toe box width, and a toe box taper of only 32 degrees. So it's a few degrees less than some others. So they still got that inflare. So you still have to be able to match the inflare, but aside from that, honestly, it's a little bit more forgiving. So I would say these are kind of more of a true fitting shoe. Narrow, medium foot, I think go true to size. My 2E width foot fit into my true size just fine in these. I had no cramping, no break-in, you know, in terms of the cramping, break-in in terms of the laces for sure, but not in terms of side-to-side cramping. There's really no problem going up half size in these if you're a 2E. So, they lock down so well, so why not? You can get an orthotic in there a little easier. Yeah, go for it. So I'd say a 2E, go up 1/2 size. A 4E, I think if you match the shape, you could probably get away with going up 1/2 size. If you don't, if you're more of a straight foot, then I'd say maybe just go up 1 size in these things. Like I said, they lock down so well, and they're light enough that you don't have to worry about those issues. In terms of the snake bitten foot though, in terms of anybody with, heel pain, arch pain, ball of foot pain, yes. Put it that way. Because you can get an orthotic in there, because the dual density super boom, you are getting a little more shock absorption, because a lot of the thermoplastic, sometimes it's the shock absorption that isn't as good as the bounce. But in these things, because of the dual density nature of it, because you can get an orthotic in there, so because they lock down so well, top loaded shank, but you do have the forgiveness because it's broken up there. I'm a fan, I think, for really anything. These are one of the better ones, once again, out there for ankle sprainers. Just because, number one, the lockdown is so good, the containment is so good, plus you get the lateral flange in there, the midsole is finally stable enough for the super boom, right? So the shoe as a whole is stable enough, and it utilizes that super boom. So yeah, I think we're back, in terms of the Way of Wade signature line. I do really appreciate the fact that we've gotten a little bit more flexibility. So, we still have the protection in the ball of the foot, but maybe not as stiff. Maybe, you know what I mean? You're getting a little bit more natural motion there, which is, a little bit more natural motion. They're still, they're still reinforced to the hilt, but it is nice to see that little bit of evolution from the 10s and the 11s, making these a little bit more of a flowing, flexible shoe and a lighter one versus those, and kind of, to me, this is like All City 13 and 808.5, like kind of had a baby. That's kind of what these seem to me to be, and I like it. I think these are gonna do very, very well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Yeah, I'm impressed. I am definitely pleasantly surprised in them. Like I said, the only thing that I think with the Way of Wade, with the signature, with this line here, I would say is you got to be able to want that pinpoint grip, and you got to be okay with just wiping them down, and you got to be okay with the inflare. If you are, this is, like I said, right now, it's as good as it gets. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. If you do want to see what I'm talking about with the 808.5 Ultra and Ultra V2, I'll leave that video linked right here, and make sure you subscribe down below. I'll see you in the next video.